I assume you saw the title of this video, and in an ideal world, I wouldn't even be making a video like this because we would be living in the Star Trek universe, a sort of moneyless, classless, stateless society. There's a word for it, but it currently escapes me.
Stand up, all victims of oppression.
Anywho, do not vote for this Labour Party, starting with the local elections, and this is why.
I started a joke, which started the whole world. I started to cry, which started the whole world. I finally died, which started the whole world living. Oh, if I'd only seen that the joke was on me.
At this point, just change my middle name to Broken Record, making my new full name MBRH. For 14 years, the British population had to sit back and witness a heartless bunch of horse take a sledgehammer to the marble sculpture, which was public spending, aka money for the public, aka money for everyday people, aka money to stop you starving to death or perishing from preventable diseases like polio or scurvy. And I'm not going to argue with anyone on the subject of COVID spending. That was done by capitalists to stop capitalism from collapsing. Plus money travelled upwards to billionaires as opposed to working people. I made 3 videos on Starmerism, then a video on Starmer courting Tories, a further video on The Guardian running defence for this Labour government, and one more video on Keir paving the way for fascism. I spent less time on doing university coursework, but here I am again speaking about these goons. I'm starting to think it might be more impactful for me to pursue a career in tunes bottle music. I don't know. I just think it's time for everyone in this country to agree on a moral line we don't want the government to cross. When Her Majesty's government supported Israel's apparent right to cut Palestinian people in half with bombs, it is dismissed as a complicated conflict in the Middle East. How could anyone forget Israel has a right to defend herself? When refugees are risking their lives to make it to British shores by boat, we are told we are full and need to look after our own. Okay, patriots, it's your time to shine. The government is openly attacking our own. Why am I hearing f***ing crickets? This Labour government looked at Maslow's hierarchy of needs and concluded that disabled people don't require physiological needs. No biggie, it's only the foundation everything else is built on. Here is the government gleefully telling everyone that there is a section of the population that is disposable.
Millions of people who could work, trapped on benefits, denied the income, hope, dignity and self-respect that we know good work brings.
Oh, is that everyone's favourite working class girl made good, nodding like Jack Nicholson in that one movie? You can bet your bottom dollar it is. If that wasn't bad enough, Angela Rayner was showing off her BSL skills days later on her Twitters or X, social media, whatever. It could be argued that Labour has both a hierarchy of racism and a hierarchy of disability. Hearing impairment is a legitimate disability. Mental illness? Not so much. In this Guardian article, they speak to 5 very different people receiving PIP or personal independence payments living in 5 very different parts of the country. The main takeaway is that people living with disabilities are not work-shy sponges. Instead, it is workplaces refusing to make reasonable adjustments for potential staff members. When this article was published, David from Cambridgeshire had been looking for work for 13 months. Some might say there is an institutional and systemic issue, like this country has with every other ism. In the Disability News Service article, we are given insight into the fight back against £5 billion in cuts. All of this potential death and destruction for a mere £5 billion saving in the 6th biggest economy on the planet. This has to be a joke. A 2% levy on people with more than £10 million in assets would generate $24 billion per year. Where is the reset button on this country? It has to be in the back. It's like that great moral dilemma with the runaway train and there is a lever to switch tracks. On track 1 there are 7 people in wheelchairs. On track 2 there are tax breaks for the rich. And on the 3rd track it is just a clear pathway where nothing is done to anybody in case the other 2 choices make you a bit delicate. Labour saw this impossible dilemma and still sacrificed the disabled people. This article also rightfully points out the ripple effect of these cuts, namely on NHS waiting lists, social care, and a society with a rising retirement age. And it's not hyperbole when David suspects people will die, because we saw this when full-fat Tories made the same cuts a decade ago. This big issue article highlights the sheer number of people that could be affected by the end of this decade. I like that we are reminded of a very marginalized group that is also affected by these cuts. Unpaid carers. An astonishing 28% of unpaid carers are also disabled. Some unpaid carers are receiving both carers allowance and PIP. Instead of removing these benefits and trying to send unpaid carers to what some people might term traditional work, it would be more humane to recruit them into British Squid Games hosted by Mr. Beast.
Fuck off.
All these articles are really illuminating and I recommend you read them yourself. Links in the description below. You might not have a family member or close friend that is disabled. You might not have ever come across a disabled person in life, but you are much more closer to becoming a disabled person that needs to rely on PIP than you are becoming a billionaire. Hell, I have a much higher chance of winning Dana White's Happy Slap competition than becoming a millionaire. Standing against the government on this important issue is just basic level empathy. Remember, the same individuals that are telling you there is a moral case for stripping life-saving payments from disabled people are the same individuals that have put 200 billion into nuclear weapons, 14 billion into defense, and consider Israel to be a force for good. As a rule of thumb, for me, I tend to stand in opposition to those individuals.
Of taxation at the top end of the scale, look at the levels of inequality in our society, look at the growth of the super rich in our society. Something is wrong here when we're saying we can't afford personal independence payments, we're impoverishing children, and we know the numbers of people that are sleeping rough and in desperate poverty in our society. Is this a happy society? There's supposed to be a Labour government that's meant to be dealing with poverty and inequality. It seems to me to be doing the opposite.
Whether you want to accept it or not, this Labour Party is cooked. And that would be extremely funny if it was a Labour Party in America or Canada, Australia, maybe France or Spain. However, it is here and happening to us. And if you think you can see a light at the end of the tunnel, just look at what Labour Party MPs are tweeting out. No, God! Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.
Well, laughing, I started a joke, which started the whole world. I started to cry, which started the whole world. I finally died, which started the whole world living. Oh, if I'd only seen that the joke was on me.